We still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications option. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks for watching. The return of the Entertainers is a walking football match that takes place at Gateshead Leisure Centre on Saturday the 6th of June 2026 in aid of Age UK North Tyneside. Sponsored by Shout Digital and Darren Baldwin Funerals. Tickets available from our website or from Voucher. There's also an opportunity for you to play in the game, either with or against the legends. Go to our website nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for more details. 29th of January 2027 sees an evening with Beardsley, Cole and Ferdinand at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House, hosted by John Gibson. Tickets are on sale now from the box office 0191 243 1171 or tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk or directly from us at our website. Northern Horizon is a Blake 7 convention in aid of Age UK North Tyneside. Tickets available from our website. And Rebel Base Northeast, a Star Wars fan convention, Sunday the 2nd of August at the Copthorne Hotel. Tickets available on our website. The Craze, Fred Dinage, Ronnie, Reggie and Me takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House, box office 0191 243 1171 or tynetheatreandoperahouse.uk. That takes place Wednesday the 11th of November at 7:30. We've also got some books available on our website. Will Scott's popular Entertainers book, 92 to 97, Kevin Keegan's Legacy, is available now. And The Promoter and the Photographer, 25 years of bringing the stars to Tyneside, all proceeds going to Age UK. All books available, nufcmatters.co.uk.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe.
Good morning. Welcome to NUFC Matters. It is a live Q&A with me, Steve Wraith, for an hour. And we are coming off the back of a wonderful 2-1 win with 10 men against Manchester United, who had been unbeaten in their previous 11 games. And quite happy that I managed to get the score prediction right. Didn't put a bet on, of course, but got the prediction right, 2-1. And needless to say, I have rubbed it in a little bit with Melly, whose phone was switched off last night, apparently. Not that I bothered trying to ring him. I'm above all of that. Let's be honest. But great result, good win. Capped off by a wonderful, wonderful goal by William Asula. And I've got to be honest, when William Asula was warming up and I saw him coming on, I genuinely didn't want him to come on. I was comfortable and happy with a point, and I just didn't want us to go gung-ho and throw it all away. And like we had against Everton. And it could have happened very easily. But Anyhow, listening to his post-match comments that in training before the game, William Asula had asked for 10 balls in, and he basically took that shot 8 times out of 10. He scored past the keepers. It's quite an amazing feat that something like that could happen. But delighted for us, delighted for Eddie Howe, delighted for all of you out there as well. What a great result, and just what the doctor ordered after a disappointing result against Everton at the weekend. It's not just one night though that we need to do that. We need to continue doing that. And can we do it? Well, we'll wait and see. Lots of questions coming in. John Askew has filled the timeline with a few already. Are you confident we'll now kick on and have a good end of the season? How can it happen, bearing in mind our inconsistency? I'm not confident, John. It's been a topsy-turvy roller coaster season. That has been our season in a nutshell. And I think there'll be more highs and I think there'll be some more lows. So, strap yourself in and enjoy the roller coaster ride this season. I think, as you know, I didn't get too downhearted after the Everton game. I'm not going to get too carried away after a win against Manchester United with 10 men. So am I confident we'll kick on? I'm confident that something will happen this season. I am. I still think that, should we get past Manchester City, we're more than likely going to get Arsenal or Liverpool in the next round. And if we're going to win something, we'll have to do it the hard way. Can we get past Barcelona in the Champions League? Of course we can. Will we? Who knows? Can we get a European spot in the Premier League if we put a good run together? Of course we can. But it's going to be topsy-turvy. It's going to be a roller coaster. So strap yourself in and just enjoy it. Melly's put something on Twitter today, actually, Andrew. He's okay, but and he was quite gracious in defeat. But he had a bit of an incident with one of his own fans in the Man United end, where somebody thought he was pickpocketing them and took a swing at him. So he's put a post out, which you can read on X, which is interesting. But yeah, gracious in defeat is how Melly's been. Did Ramsey sending off go to VAR? I don't believe it did. It was a second yellow, and it was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. At the park. Well, I've seen some bizarre things, but it was a strange sending off because he didn't dive. It wasn't simulation. He didn't even appeal for a penalty. His natural motion took him over, and we were all scratching our heads in the ground at that. But we didn't have time to think about it too much because, of course, Newcastle went up the other end and got a penalty again. And Anthony Gordon dispatched that before Casemiro's equaliser. So, yeah, it was. I don't know whether it went to VAR. I would imagine all those kind of checks do. But if it did go to VAR, he should have been sent to the monitor immediately and told, there's nothing wrong with this. It really, really is a strange scenario. Gary says it did, Darren, because it was yellow. They can't overturn it or something along those lines. Cheers, Gary. Will we ever perform to that level against lower teams? Well, we have done in the past and we will do again. But like I said, the season is such a topsy-turvy season, Roger. It really is. Thanks for buying your ticket for the end of season do as well. Look forward to seeing you there. To say it was a dive, but Ramsey wasn't shouting for a penalty. Of course he wasn't, Darren. Of course he wasn't. Michael says mid-level and table mediocrity isn't a good way to be. The fans will be restless. I think, like I said last night, not all fans are restless. There's a percentage of fans restless, but I don't think all fans are. I think most fans understand that, the amount of games we've played and the amount of injuries sustained and the situation we found ourselves in at the start of the season and the players that we've invested in, it's all come together and caused the season that we're having. But yeah, I think some fans are unhappy, but not everybody is. People I met last night, there's a good mix of people who are, happy and not happy, and it's a strange scenario. But it is all about opinions. Seems a difficult pill to swallow if you're in third or fourth place. Have I missed part of a question there, Les? Championship have agreed to extend playoffs to 6 next season. Seems a difficult pill to swallow if you're in third or fourth place. I've never seen that. So, I mean that is strange. I mean, I've never liked the playoffs, Les. I have never liked the playoffs. And, we were the first year of the playoffs, of course, when we got knocked out by Sunderland. So, yeah, I think it is a tough pill to swallow. But let's be honest, it's really, from our perspective, if you're in that position, all about finishing in the top two. It incentivizes teams to finish in the top two. So, but yeah, it's not fair, Liz. It's not fair, and I don't think that's ever been fair. Ramsey missing the FA Cup now, 1 match ban. Yeah, it's a 1 match ban for 2 yellows. So yeah, he will be a miss because he has started to come into some good form. Did Aaron Ramsey's performance last night ignite a debate on possible future at St James's Park? And surely Ramsdale keeps the number 1 spot now. Is Dave in the chat? Look, Ramsdale was outstanding last night. Those 2 saves that he pulled off were just as good as 2 goals for me. Just as important because they came at crucial parts of the game, and it just kept the momentum with Newcastle United. So yeah, look, it was great. I'll tell you what stood out for me last night at the match was how much further forward our back 4 plays when Ramsdale was in goal last night. They weren't sitting on top of him, and that did help us push forward and go forward. Look, we do know his distribution is a lot better than Pope's. But last night was on par with Pope's. Does one game change everything? Does it change it in any house mind? Who knows? But I think how did the right thing taking out Walter Marder and Pope last night? Taking them out of the firing line, if you like. So I'm not sure. I said last night at the match, I genuinely feel, sorry, that our 2 keepers, there's not much between them at this moment in time. And yeah, I think last night backed that up. They can both have absolute blinders and they can both have absolute stinkers. But I will also say that, a lot of it depends on the back 4 as well, playing in front of you. And neither of our goalkeepers have had what you call regular back 4 in front of them, and that's been a big problem. How long can the Premier League keep boasting the best product when every single match week is ruined by inept officiating? Ches, look, that's the one thing that we shouldn't be talking about week after week after week is the officials. But unfortunately, that is exactly what we're doing. We're coming on podcasts, the media are going out and, writing about it. But everybody, every game now is talking about linesmen, referees making mistakes, VAR not being good enough. It's crazy. It really, really is crazy. And we never thought that, the game was perfect. So, before VAR, now it just seems to become more complicated. Really, really annoying. But you're right. It's not the best product at the minute. It needs to be improved. Did you think there was a big hesitation from the ref before Ramsey's second yellow and the award of the penalty? What was going on? It didn't seem like it. In fact, it seemed rather a rather quick decision, and we were all waiting for him to go to the screen. We felt that VAR would overturn it. We felt that he would be sent to the screen, and when you're at the ground like that and something happens, you only get one look at it, unless you're sitting in the box and you get the replay on the TV. Obviously, we don't have great internet connection at the ground, so you can't watch it back on a screen or anything when you're sitting there. But we felt it was harsh. And I mean, I'm at the complete opposite end of the ground, so we don't have a great view. But you can tell as well from the players' reaction, and the players, were basically up in arms about it. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. So ultimately, it changed the whole dynamic of the game. It changed how the players reacted, and it changed the atmosphere within the ground as well. The atmosphere was pretty good last night. From the off, and sometimes that dips if a game stagnates, which it has quite a lot this season. But as we all know, when something goes against our team, the crowd responds, and it was like a cauldron in there last night. And wow, that when Asula scored, the roof literally, came off. It was amazing. It really was. Shearer still getting pelters from the Man U fans, says Ian. Ian, every time we play Manchester United, they sing that song about Alan Shearer and they sing the Andy Cole song. I really do not understand what they think to get out of it. It doesn't wind us up. It doesn't bother us. And, our fans singing Shearer turned you down. It's just, why bother? Why bother? It's 30 years ago. It's irrelevant. And I think it's petty and pathetic, and it's got no place in at that match. I just think it's ridiculous. I really, really, I just don't get it. Would Ramsey have been sent off if the ref had a little encouragement from one or two red shirts? John, I didn't make this point, but my mate Dave, who sits next to us at the match, made this point straight away that Man United players with the referee, and next thing you know, Ramsey's getting his marching orders, and that wasn't allowed. That was supposed to be something the referees were cracking down on, but it doesn't seem the referees that anymore. It's gone in the dustbin with the 6 second rule. So you are 100% right, John. I don't think Man United players, really stopped moaning at the referee last night. They're very good at it. And maybe we should have took a leaf out of their book a bit earlier. We did manage to cotton on in the second half, and there was some great shithousery from the likes of Trippier, etc. So yeah, well done to Newcastle again. Strange question: did playing with 10 actually boost our chances? John, it's funny because that does happen. It does happen that there is a lot of there is a lot of games that I've watched over the years where there has been 10 men and the game's changed in favour of the team with 10 men. It's harder to play against 10 men. So, yeah, strange scenario that, John. Strange scenario. I don't know why it happens, but yes, it does happen, I think I'm in the minority, but Ramsey looked for that last night. It's a clear dive and a yellow card for me, says Jay Bus. I do think you're in the minority because I've watched it back on TV and I genuinely don't think he looked for it. Gordon did twice last night. I thought Gordon was lucky not to get booked last night for exactly the same affair. 10 versus 12, says Craig. Yet the referee again and the officials were awful, horrendous, terrible, poor, whatever you want to say. Darren says new offside rules coming in next season. Make it interesting as your full body needs to be offside. That would have meant that Burns' goal against Man City would have counted last week. Yeah, I mean, there is new rules coming in. Some strange rules. There's something coming in with regards to time wasting for throw-ins and free kicks. So that will be interesting to see how that starts off and how that goes. I don't believe Ramsey dived. He didn't wave his arms around for a penalty. Just lost his foot. And yeah, Darren, I would agree with you. I would agree with you. Howard Webb should have made the ref wear a Man U top. He probably was wearing a Man U top underneath, mate. Roger says it's a sick net of a call for Ramsey. Player of the month after getting what we bought him for. Will he return with the same form? I think he will. He's not missing for 3 games. He's missing for 1. And I do think he'll come good and be fine. So yeah, it's take it as a rest. And fair play to Willock. Willock came on and did okay. So Willock and Ramsey are one and the same. And I think that we're getting into that kind of system now where players can come in and like for like, and in the midfield area, certainly we've got a surplus of players. Miley will be coming back as well, so that's good. Unbelievable performance from the lads against the 12 men. Yeah, definitely Porter Tuna, 100%. If you watch Ramsey's foot, it was caught. You barely see it, but the keeper did catch him. Yeah, I mean, people who went to the bar at half time were saying that. They were saying that his foot got caught. And again, it depends how much angle you see it from. It really, really does. It was good to see Elanga have a very good game, says Michael. Yeah, I commented on that last night. I do look. Elanga wasn't great, but he was good. And that's a massive improvement. And he just needs to continue in the same vein. He was up for it last night. He was putting tackles in. He was tracking back, and his balls into the box. And the first half were just too thick. He was putting too much on it, and they were going too far over the top and towards the back post. So there's still room for improvement with Alanga, but there is definitely somebody there who will come good 100%. Alanga's first half performance was great. Yeah, he just overhit passes, Roger. That's all he was doing. The passes were overhit, and that was the big problem. You can tell by the way the keeper reacted. He thought he'd given a penalty away. Yeah, you can watch it back. As I say, it depends which angle you watch it from. It really does. Sparky says he's been one of Trippier's biggest critics lately, but thought he was outstanding last night. Yeah, Trippier was excellent. He led by example. He was the man who was in charge of shithousery last night. He took a booking when he needed to. He had the players going for it, but there was some wonderful one-touch football from him on occasions. Long crossfield balls that he took on his instep, and some great balls into the box, some dangerous balls into the box for others to get on the end of. So yeah, he was superb. Joe Linton needs to improve. It's like he's playing rugby with them shots. Yeah, his shooting's always a bit wayward, but for me, he was my man of the match last night, Joe Linton. I really enjoyed watching him play last night. Tonali played really well, Trippier. But yeah, Joe Linton for me was my man of the match. Morning, Kevin. I hope you had a good birthday the other day. Nice to see you in the chat again. Would you keep Ramsdale in the summer, Steve? I've already said I wouldn't, Gary. I don't think one brilliant performance is worth paying that kind of money to bring him full time. And I think Newcastle will look at other goalkeepers. I think they will be already looking at the next person to come in. Who that is, I don't know. I mean, we are being heavily linked with the Brighton keeper. Is it? Is it Verbrugge? Obviously there's been linked with Trafford again. So, I do think Newcastle will be prioritising a goalkeeper in the summer. Of course, a lot depends on who leaves, what players leave, and what areas of the team are short. So, a lot can change in the summer. Ramsey seems to work in a more organised and calmer fashion with the back four than Pope. You mean Ramsdale, I think? I haven't seen that before, though. Will he keep that? I hope so. I presume you mean Ramsdale, Roger. I just think there's less panic when Ramsdale's in goal. I genuinely felt that, last night was Ramsdale's best game by a country mile. Distribution was great. A couple of great saves. But all in all, yeah, I would stick with him. I would stick with him at the moment. I wouldn't bring Pope back in. I would stick with Ramsdale for now. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with rotating keepers, to be fair, but I think we need some continuity in the back four and in goal if we're going to have any chance of putting a run together. Alan Stew says, good commentary. Ali McCoist had sugar cubes pelted at him by Shearer. Great banter. And where are we next? We lose Pope and don't sign Ramsdale. We need two goalkeepers in the summer. Well, that's true, Darren. That's true. Although I'm not sure we'll lose Pope. But I think there'll be a lot of business done. That's it. Verbruggen, not Verbruggen, and Rissa at Lens for goalkeeper. Cheers, Les. That will be the one. PGMOL needs to stop tweaking and coming up with new rules and concentrate on quality officiating. It's pointless having all this tech when we have monkeys operating them. It's a good point, Cheers. Still can't understand how the first half had added time on added time. Yeah, we ended up with about 9 minutes added time, didn't we? I mean, yes, there was VAR decision and the sending off and the penalty, but there's no way in the world it should have been 9 minutes. Got to agree with you on that. Stephen Kennedy has dropped us an email. He says, just watch the Sky highlights, which show Man U totally dominating the game. How did they get away with this? Also, watch the Stretford Paddock podcast, the last 10 minutes. And can I also say I've never heard such racist and insightful language on a show, yelling at their players to go in and cause some damage with two-footed tackles. And the language so profane, it would make Chubby Brow wince. Are they not monitored for their content? Where the hell did the referee get the added time from? Yeah, I mean, look, highlights are highlights, aren't they? I genuinely felt that with with Newcastle last night, we were the stronger team for a vast majority of the game. But I haven't had time to see the highlights, so I couldn't comment on that. I'll just have to take your word for it. Well, depending on what time of podcast in and what their settings are, they can get away with what they want. If they were racist, of course, it's up to somebody to report the channel for being racist. But it would need to be, you would need a report to YouTube for something like that. But yeah, I've never watched it again, so not really something I can comment on other than to say, if I have done that, that's bang out of order. And yeah, I've just commented on the extra time. God knows where they got that from. It's absolutely mental. Next question. The penalty was awarded at 48-20, then the ref played another 4 minutes after the penalty. Okay, Craig. Sky highlights must have only 60 seconds if it was showing Man U having some of the ball. We was in control of last night's game from start to finish. Yeah, I would agree with you, mate. Okay, quick ad break. Back after this.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com, or contact them, www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to United Group Travel, our fanzine sponsor. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2-crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach. All excursions included. Their website, www.unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Or telephone 01670 632 460. Or mobile 0791 666 4174. Deposits from £50 per person. A big thanks to Media Arts. Their website, www.media-arts.co.uk. Email info@media-arts.co.uk. Or telephone 0191 637 5061. If you want to help support the channel, then you can click the subscribe button. We still do 7 shows a week. It is free. Hit the thumb up to like the video and click share to share to your social media. A big thanks to Sports Social Podcast Network. You can listen to us on the road, on this network, or by tuning into iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can also join the channel by hitting the join button on YouTube, or go to our website, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. You can pay a one-off fee of £25 and you'll receive a membership card, a beer mat, a fridge magnet, a key ring, a badge and a pen. £25, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk.
Okay, welcome back to a live Q&A with me, Steve Wraith. John Askew emailed us a few questions an hour ago. He said, we're euphoric. Will we be brought crashing back down to earth sometime between 8 and 10 on Saturday? Look, if we can maintain that kind of level of performance against Manchester City at the weekend, it shouldn't hold any fears. We've already beaten them at St James's Park. We've lost against them, of course, as well, home and away, but I think we can do that on Saturday. And I think a few people felt a bit more confident about the Man City game than they perhaps did about the Man United game. But every game's different. A lot depends on who's available, of course. From our perspective, it looked... I saw Anthony Gordon limping last night, and I hope he's okay. And he wasn't taken off because of injury. I don't know whether he injured himself in the run along the line to celebrate Sula's goal. But... We may have players back. Certainly know that Miley isn't far away from a return. So, look, all in all, it really depends on who's available, and that's it really. But yeah, I think we can keep the run going. What a fantastic week it would be, and would again confound the critics if Newcastle could beat Man United, beat Man City, and beat Barcelona in the first game in the Champions League. So, look, anything's possible. But be be prepared. It is a topsy-turvy season. It is a roller coaster. And Newcastle could win that game. They could lose that game. It's as simple as that. One thing we do know is it's got to be decided on the day. No replays. 14 hours ago, Asula had no real future at our club. Does he have a chance as a super sub, or better still, can Eddie and his team smooth out the rough edges? I mean, Asula is one of those who, you know, he's a rough diamond, isn't he? I mean, I'm trying to remember the games that he scored in. He scored against Liverpool, I think, didn't he? He certainly likes to score on the big occasion. There's definitely raw talent there, but I'm still not convinced that he's Premier League level. Yet he scored a brilliant goal last night in the Premier League. I'm almost arguing with myself when I'm answering the question. He's raw talent, and it's up to Eddie and his coaching staff to get the best out of him. He's certainly coming on for 10 minutes causes mayhem. You know, he causes mayhem. When he's had the opportunity to stay, like to start a game, I was at Leeds. He started, of course, against Karabag. I think he started against one of the lower league teams, was at Wimbledon in the FA Cup. And he doesn't take his opportunity. He doesn't take his opportunity in those games. And that's the disappointing thing. But last night came on as an impact sub and scored the winning goal. So, you know, has he got a chance? Does he want to stay? He had the opportunity to leave. Looked like he was on his way out to Frankfurt, and then it got pulled at the last minute, obviously with Newcastle struggling for forwards. But I don't know, is the honest answer. I'm yet to be convinced. I'm yet to be convinced that he's the man. He's a man to stay and do that. I think he could be one of those who goes out. Chaos is the word that lots of people use to describe him. I've just seen Shez's post there. Roger says Asula's expected quick double step over, then that finish. Asula is chaos and can sometimes disrupt the most organised defences. Love the lad. I wish him well, but we need to keep looking. Chuffed for him though. Yeah, Chez. I think I'm in the same camp as you. He's not the greatest striker in the world, but he can cause chaos. And that does give us something different. Benny says Asula gives us strength, size, and pace combined up top. What Everton had against us, which meant all they had to do was pump balls forward. I think if they can make a case to him that that's where his career's heading, I think that would probably be acceptable for him. It's whether the player sees himself as a super sub, as they were called. Is Asula the latest ESM? I mean, ESM was the same to a degree. It just appears to be lazy, and when he's not in the game, suddenly bang, he's scoring goal. He scores a goal. So yeah, he's just different. Every player's different. I woke the dead when Asula scored. The dog was asleep, poor thing. Thought World War III had started when I screamed. Yeah, I bet. I mean, it was. The roof came off at St James's as well, Craig. It was absolutely crazy. I've not heard a cry like that for a long time. It was similar, wasn't it? Was it Matt Ritchie got a winner against Man United a few years ago at the Gallagher end? It was very similar. Was that the day that he kicked the goalpost, or was that something else? I can't remember, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it was similar. But we've got a good record against Man United at St James's Park in recent seasons, and of course, I think that's the longest run we've had against them with wins since 1931. I think I mentioned the other night. John asked you another question. Are you frustrated and a little angry that we can do that in a game like last night, but it was a virtual no-show against the likes of Everton, Brentford, Sunderland? What's going on in the smaller games? You chuck a few teams in there. To be honest, I could pick each game and say, well, Everton, it was down to collective errors, and we did turn up. We scored 2 goals, but we got beat 3-2. Sunderland, nobody deserved to win that game at Sunderland. That should have been a 0-0 all day long. It was one error, which led to Voltemada scoring an own goal. So for me, the Brentford game, at Brentford, the West Ham game at West Ham, those were disappointing. West Ham were at the crest of a slump then. Brentford weren't doing as well as they're doing now. And yeah, there has been games this season where Newcastle, had they been on the A game and turned up, would have won. But we've chucked points away. It is disappointing. But, the first half of the season was all about poor away form. We managed to rectify that, and then we go into a period of poor home form. So, but I think a lot of it, and I'm sounding like a broken record, but a lot of it has come down to the injuries that we've had, and not having a regular back four, settled back four to be able to put out. And that makes a hell of a difference. If you've got a set back four that you can put out, it makes a really big difference. Is there a smaller game in the Premier League now? I don't know if there is a smaller game. I don't think there's a middle of the table anymore. I think there's a top and a bottom. I think there's a top 10 and a bottom 10. And I just think that, the likes of Bournemouth and Brighton and Brentford, they've all been very good this season. And that essentially is, it's unheard of. These teams managing to come into the Premier League and stay in the Premier League and then climb up the Premier League to trouble the European places. Look at Sunderland, 40 points, and it's not even through the first week of March. So, Leeds still dicing with death at the bottom end of the table, but you think, looking at the way Leeds are playing, that they'll probably get out of it. Which takes us to Les's question, really. Who do you think will go down? I think it'll be Wolves. I think it'll be Burnley. And on current form, you'd have to say Tottenham, wouldn't you? But it's going to be so tight. It's between Tottenham, West Ham, Nottingham Forest, and Leeds. Which team has got the hardest running? I don't know. But even then, the hardest running means nothing sometimes, because some teams have got nothing to play for. Players get their flip-flops on, thinking about the holidays. Of course, it's now World Cup year, so we're now in that situation where some players will definitely not want to get injured for the World Cup, so probably won't be putting as much effort in. So there is so many different outcomes of this season. Premier League at the top and Premier League at the bottom, both very exciting. Arsenal have increased their gap last night, but you can't write Man City off, not yet. Yes, for the Champions League, the European spots are still as exciting as ever. Newcastle have put themselves back in the mix for that, which is great. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. Rumours of Spurs going to sack Tudor if they don't win tonight. They're like us under Ashley. It's so funny. Lots of people in the chat saying they love to see Spuds go down. Gary says, Steve, with two massive home games coming up, how do you think we will manage the squad rotation? And do you think we will see changes for both Man City and Barca? Well, of course we'll see changes, Gary, 100%. I think that, they will have to rotate the squad for those two games. And it will be horses for courses. You are going to pick a different team, aren't you? For each of those games, because each of those games bring a different threat. I didn't see anything other than highlights in Man City, but that was a bad result against Nottingham Forest. So, they're coming into that slightly down. And yeah, what does he prioritise this season? He's in the Carabao Cup final already. He'll want to win the Champions League and he'll want to win the Premier League. So is the FA Cup just as important to Pep? I think maybe after that result last night that there will be a few changes to his team. As for Barca, it's an exciting game. Whatever happens, it's an exciting game. But we can't really say what they'll do for Barca until we get Man City out of the way. So, but yes, Gary, simple answer to your question, there will be squad rotation. Have we now definitely proved that we can win without Bruno, says Roger? Yes, we have. First Premier League win without Bruno. Obviously we'd won a game without Bruno, but now we've won our first Premier League win, and it's no surprise because look, we're not a one-man team. Newcastle United, has never been a one-man team, and we one day Bruno won't be playing for Newcastle. So yeah, I'm not too concerned about those kind of records. Got a tick of a Saturday's game would be my first game since the takeover. I'm like a kid on Christmas Eve. Oh, that's great news, Sparky. Good to hear that, mate. I hope you have a great time. And of course, hope Newcastle United get a result for you. Spuds last relegated in 76 and it's 2026. Can history repeat itself? Yeah. Interesting stat, isn't it? I love football and how it brings up those kind of stats. It's great. Okay, only got a couple of questions. Have I got 2 questions? 1 question left. So you need to get some in, otherwise the show will come to an abrupt end. Is the seeming demanding hard season ending fixture list going in our favour, playing big teams? I think, Roger, having the amount of games that we've had wouldn't be an issue if we hadn't been as unlucky as we have been with injuries. Some seasons you get bad injuries, other seasons you don't. Some seasons you get injuries spread through the team, other times it's in one area, and we've had them in one area this season. So I think that added to the fact that we lost Alexander Isak, a 25, 30 goal striker. It's just thrown our entire season into disarray. So I think playing games like we have done in Europe, you get used to it. And that is what that's why Newcastle needs some kind of European football next year. Some people saying we don't want the Conference League, but I genuinely would like to see us just get something, because it continues the journeys. It's a little bit of money, not as much as the Champions League, but it gets us into that routine of 3 games a week. And if we're going to be a big side, that's what's going to happen. We're going to be playing 3 games a week, so get on with it. But whether it's Conference, Europa, we need to make sure that we've got European football of some sort next season. What did you think of Slot saying he doesn't get any joy from watching the Premier League now due to all the set pieces? I think just Slot says things just to divert from his own issues, doesn't he? I don't think there's been a massive change. I think the media started the narrative about set pieces and long throws, and that's where that comes from. I don't think it's been any different. Some teams play with long throws, other teams don't. Some teams work on set pieces, others don't. It's just part and parcel of football. So I think he's talking absolute rubbish. The no win without Bruno was always a misinterpretation of stats. Bruno hardly ever misses matches. The law of averages would make it look like the few we didn't play, we lost. Silly stat. Yeah, I would agree. Steve, with a major reset possibly coming in the summer, who do you think of all our players will go out? And if you had a bet on a big one leaving, who would your money be on? Well, the 3 players that have been linked with departures are the 3 players that could go. Tonali, Gordon and Livramento. Those are the 3 players who we are led to believe by the esteemed media that they are all looking to move to pastures new. Tino won't sign his new contract. Gordon, although he says he's 100% committed to the club and he is going to be, he's going to be here next season. There are lots of rumours circulating that, maybe his wife would like a move to London. Again, it's unsubstantiated. It's just allegations that. And then you've got, you've got other players who will definitely go. You've got the likes of Trippier coming at the end of the contract. Is he going to get an extra year? Who knows? You've got Emil Kraft who will be leaving. There's going to be big changes, and that's it. That's it. Really, there is going to be big changes. So yeah, I could see one of the big names going. I can't see them all going. And if Tino Livramento goes, we're going to need 2 right backs. Losing Anthony Gordon would be a huge blow. But I believe that we're still probably in the same situation as we were when Darren Eales was chair, chief executive, that everybody has the price. Brian Clough said that, the great Brian Clough. My dad mentioned that to me this morning when I was talking to him. Brian Clough said everybody's got his price. And yeah, I genuinely think that, there will be a major rebuild. If I had to put my money on one, Tino, I'd say Tino probably goes. But, we could lose more than one. Who knows? But we just then need to make sure that we invest in the right people to bring in. Could the return of Tino be a huge advantage for the running? Of course it could, because he's a really good player. No doubt about it. He makes a difference to our team. So I'd love to see Tino come back in and stay fit and regain the early season form that he had. Should we have insisted on Nunes before letting Isaac go to Liverpool? Potential to learn that lesson with Tino and Trafford. I don't even think we would have got Nunes. I don't think Newcastle would have got Nunes. I think if Newcastle had let Isaac go early, I think we would have got Ekitike. I do think Ekitike would have come to Newcastle because I don't think Liverpool would have gone for him. So I think that's where we'll learn the lesson. Somebody somewhere hadn't told the owner that Isaac was going, and that was the reason he was going. And I think the owner probably found out later what the situation was, and then realised that him saying Isaac's going nowhere was actually fanciful, So yeah, I would have said we would have got him. João Pedro went for the money at Chelsea. João Pedro was the first choice to replace Callum Wilson, I think. So I just think, learn your lessons about, if a player wants to go, just let him go, get the best price and move on. Are there any TV series you're enjoying at the moment, Steve? I just watched Betrayal on ITV, Gary. Really, really good. Enjoyed it. I've recorded The Lady. I watch a lot of documentaries, and I am doing a film challenge this year, so I'm watching a film each week. So I haven't managed to get around to watching my film, but I'll do that probably Friday or Saturday. But yeah, Betrayal was very good. If you want to watch that, excellent show. Tonali has reportedly said he told Howard Wilson he has no intention of leaving. Yeah, I saw that, Les. That was yesterday. But again, I've seen other reports and heard other reports that Tonali's talked about potentially leaving, and of course we've seen the agent links as well. That Tonali could go. It'll all settle down in the summer, and we'll find out. And of course, the World Cup will change things massively. But just rest assured, I'm not saying those players will leave. I was asked a question as to whether, who did I think would go, which big name would go, and those are the three that I think would be at risk in the summer if I had to put money on it. I just watched A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, loved it. Is that something to do with Game of Thrones, or am I barking up the wrong tree there? Same question regarding films. I see you watched the second Joker movie and given it a 9, 6 for me, but I'm more of a comic book guy. Yeah, I enjoyed both Joker films, and I've watched both of them this year. I know some people didn't like Joker 2, but yeah, I enjoyed it. I really did. Film wise, yeah, I've just watched Wasted. If you haven't had a chance to watch it, it's wonderful film. It's been up for a few awards. It's based in prison. It's like Scum for the modern day, but with a really good storyline. So I would watch Wasted if you get a chance. And I watched Shelter recently as well, which was very good, with Jason Statham. If you haven't had a chance to watch that, it's a good old Jason Statham film. Man United would have signed Ekitike, then we'd have signed Sesko, says Benny. There was lots of permutations that could have happened. Basically, 9 groups of 2 strangers handcuffed together. Whoever lasts the longest gets 100 grand. Oh, this is the reality thing. So they pair them off like a toff and a working class guy and a porn star and a prude. Reality TV, I'm trying to give it a swerve. I'm trying to avoid reality TV these days. If Newcastle beat Barca, there's no reason they can't reach the Champions League final. Is that the game where we finally beat Man City, or am I dreaming? Never ever give up on your dreams, Rob. You never know, mate. The last 4 transfer windows have either been shocking or chaotic. Are you confident of a good one in the summer? Eddie surely deserves the support. But he was given financial support, John, in the last window, in the last summer window, and he signed a lot of players. So, you can't say the club won't back him. And I think there will be money to spend, as we didn't spend in January. So, yeah, I'm as confident as I can be, John. It really, really depends on where we're finished, Roger. You're right. It really, really does. It's a prequel, I believe, to Game of Thrones. All right, okay. Thanks, Ian. Good film I watched last week, Housemaid. Yeah, I watched it. Didn't know what to expect, but me and the wife liked it. Yes, I watched that, Darren. I went to pictures to watch that. Very, very good. Have you ever seen Landman? No, I haven't, Andrew. Possibly want to add to the list. Sinners doesn't seem to appeal to me, but it's had a lot of awards, hasn't it? So I might go. I thought Joker was a poor man's Taxi Driver, so much copied. It was similar. it was similar, wasn't it? It was a similar kind of story. Yeah, it was. I get where you're coming from with that. As you host a YouTube channel, do you feel a sense of responsibility regarding what you actually say? I feel you do, but not so sure about some others. Yeah, I do. I mean, I try to make sure that we keep this channel on a level pegging, and it's nice. I've got an email to read out on the Amigos on Friday, which is some lovely feedback. But yeah, I mean, look, it's nice when I'm out and about. You know, I was in Newcastle for the match last night and bumped into a few people who I hadn't met. A lot of people coming up and saying thank you very much. Thanks very much for everything you do. And I've stumbled across your podcast recently. So yeah, I do feel a sense of responsibility, and I do feel as well as the host that I have to keep people in check. I do come out with a few disclaimers or tell you that it's somebody's opinion. So I'm very conscious of that, Les, 100%. Yeah, maybe his other podcasters maybe don't, but I don't watch them all. Regarding spending, I don't think Eddie will have the final say anymore in transfers. No, I think it'll be a bit different. I think you still have a say, but you would like to think that if Ross Wilson is good at his job, that he will be getting things correct himself. Sinners is okay if you like Dusklow Dawn, you'll like it. Okay, Darren, cheers. It is a poor man's taxi driver, but the VAR is very high with taxi driver. It's not a bad position to be. I think you mean bar, not VAR. Probably predictive text, because people type VAR so often in here, and Chez agrees with you. Okay, folks, we have run out of questions. If you've got any more, get them in the chat in the next minute or so, and if not, I will bid you farewell. We will be back with the Amigos at the normal time tomorrow of 5 o'clock, which will please a lot of you because it's had to be on a Wednesday. I think it's been for the last couple of weeks, but normal service resumed for this week. Don't forget as well, we have got the auction, the charity auction, which finishes tomorrow. Now, haven't had a massive amount of bids today or this week for this, but every penny counts. I think we're up to about 120 quid ish in bids for various things. Obviously, we'll have to then get the payment for these things if people come up. But I'm just going to stick the link in the chat now. There you go. Hold on. I'm going to have to do it separately because the YouTube chat. So basically, this is an auction that we do once in a while, just to try and keep things ticking over. For the Age UK North Tyneside. So obviously we use a platform which is called Jumblebee, and when you go on the link, what you'll see is a lot of items, a lot of signed Newcastle United items. Now these items, I basically got them when we've done our various events, whether it's the end of season do or stuff like that. Hold on, I'm just going to put it in now. There you go. So I'm going to pin it at the top. So have a look on there if you've never seen it before. And basically, we do this once every couple of months. We've got stuff there from Supermac. We've got stuff there from Nobby Solano, Alan Shearer, Bob Moncur, Les Ferdinand, Keegan Waddle Beardsley is a nice piece. Tino Aspria, Ryan Taylor, Kevin Nolan, you name it. People who we've done events with over the course of the last 10 years. We've always managed to get stuff signed. So there we go. Alan Shearer, nice little signed piece there by Alan Shearer. That one, Keegan, Waddle, Beardsley, and Terry McDermott. So that gives you an idea of what's on there. So if you go on there, you will see that all of the items start off at around about £25. So all you need to do is get yourself on there. Say it's something you fancy, you just need to place a bid, and then if your bid is successful, you'll be notified and you pay for it and we'll post it. It's as simple as that. But there's some great stuff on there. There's a couple of Supermac items which haven't been bid on, 25 quid. A couple of Alan Shearer ones on there that haven't been bid on, £25. A lovely Pavel Cernacek pick, £25. Chris Waddle, Steve Howie, Steve Watson, you name it. So get yourself on there, have a look, see if there's anything you fancy. Might be somebody's birthday coming up or somebody's Christmas coming up, and you get a chance to go on there and get something for a bargain price. Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey is what Les is saying about actors. Will Heat 2 match the quality? I didn't know it was Heat 2 coming out. Godfather 2 was stupendous. Yeah, it's a good film. Steve, listening to you talk about being a non-league manager, I think you said, what has been your standout moment of football? Well, I managed Fallon Football Club for 20 years and I never got relegated in 20 years. We played in 4 different leagues. We won 9 cup finals, 4 league titles, and we are one of the only teams that ever played Sunday morning and then went back to the bar, had a pint, and then went and played Sunday afternoon. And that was probably my most momentous occasion was that season. We won both leagues that season with basically the same 24 players who played Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning, Sunday afternoon. Incredible. But we had some great laughs, man. We had some great laughs. We had some really funny times, and we're blessed with a few celebrities who played for us as well. And yeah, we had a right laugh. Maybe I'll do a section on it at some point on the next Q&A if I can dig out a few photographs, and I'll take you on a trip down Felon FC memory lane. I think you'd probably all like that. Something completely different. Maybe it's one for a show when I'm away and can't do one live. Okay, thanks everybody. Thanks to the moderators. Thanks everybody for the questions. Back 5 o'clock tomorrow for 3 Amigos. Until then, happy bidding on the auction, and we'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.